Had a buddy of mine that found this right next door in the woods, talked to the neighbor, and he let him drag it over. So anyways, did some horse trading and I wound up with it. So I'm gonna try to get it running before I load it on a trailer. Be a lot easier that way. It's got a 50-inch deck, some kind of makeshift tiller, a little angle blade for the 3-point, and some kind of jerry-rigged top. So yeah, let's see if I can get it running. All right, so I pulled the valve cover, just made sure everything looked good in there. One thing I noticed that I didn't know is that the 330s have a cable shut off instead of a electric shut off solenoid like the 332s. A little more digging, figured out this fuel pump was no good. So I'm gonna just throw this in there temporarily. See if we can get it to pop off. The fuel looks great, but we'll run some of it out and just make sure there's no water in it. Oddly enough, somebody added hydraulic steering on this, so good for them. I wouldn't have even trekked on tearing this tower apart. It's a pain. So yep, so I'm gonna get this situated in there, and if I had some kind of tripod or something, I would set this up, but unfortunately I'm working one-handed with this camera, and there's really nowhere to set it on this where it'll stay. So anyways, you'll just catch tidbits of this until I get it running. I got this little Edelbrock pump plumbed in. I kicked it on for a little bit. I got nothing coming out of here. So maybe the pickup tube is broken in the tank, I'm not sure. I was just kind of wanting to, unfortunately, this is another huge issue here. So I actually picked up a factory filter for this, not realizing that somebody replaced the filter housing. So I don't know why people do that kind of stuff. Just, you can go to Deere and get the filters pretty cheap. Maybe they broke it, I'm not sure. So I'm gonna try to get a factory filter mount so I can run the filter that I bought. Really don't want to run fuel through this, so I think I'm just gonna chance it with the filter that's on the pump and just run a line from there to the injection pump. And it's just a short test, not like I'm gonna be mowing for a few hours with it like that. But anyways, I can't pull any fuel from the tank, and I really don't want to put any of the 3 gallons of fuel that I have with me in there, just in case something's wrong with it. So give me a few moments, and then, well, it won't be a few moments for you. It'll basically be a flash. So anyways, let me get this swapped around and we'll see if we can get it run. Pump just tied to the tank, hoping this little filter's enough. Should be. And touch her on the ground. We got fuel. So we're good. All right. Now that we kind of blew some of the potential trash out of there, we'll tighten that up. Maybe we'll have at least one spider that makes its way into the injection pump and screws this all up. If we're lucky, that'll be all that goes wrong. Okay. I literally have the correct socket for this and everything. It's just more than 2 steps away. All right. So let's just see if we got any leaks anywhere. Shouldn't. There's nothing here. Now we'll cut this off because now we're just sending our good fuel back to the tank. I'm debating if I want to intercept this return line. It's unfortunately smaller. It is a, I would guess, 3/16. And I really hate to snake all this through here because I'm sure it's ran in some real obscure way that's tough to get it run back through there. Or maybe it just goes right there. Yeah, you know what? Let's just do that. So I'm gonna have to bleed all these injectors and everything. So I don't want to burn through too much fuel. Sending it back into this tank. Like I said, it looked really clean in there, but boy, I feel like this is the dumb thing to do. This is gonna break. All right, hold up. All right, so I got that return line pulled off the tank. That's my nice I'm in the middle of nowhere and don't have anything to plug that off plug, which is a piece of wire. Works out all right. Got that 3/16 line ran there. Something I'd like to do is loosen up this shutoff jig just in case anything gets hairy. And we can shut this down kind of quick because the cable is seized up here. So I couldn't really find anything online, so I'm a little concerned about finding a replacement. But that was just kind of some quick looking. So still has the screen on it. Nice. All right, full of surprises. So anyways, I'm gonna grab a couple tools, try to get that loose where I can at least actuate it by hand, and then we'll start it. Hopefully. 8mm back here. Grab this with vice grips because it's crusted the hell up. So now I can just, this is the bar or the lever we're pulling, so I can just do like that to shut it off instead of relying on this cable that's stuck. So all right, let's give her some fuel. And I have the throttle all the way down. All right, so I got this injector line loose. I got the front injector line loose. The middle one wouldn't budge, and it actually cracked the return line here and on the other side of it. So now we're gonna have a fuel leak. I don't know how much, but I'm willing to find out, and we'll see what happens. If I can just get the pop off and run under its own power, I'll be happy for today. You're not getting any fuel out of here. I see a little bit of moisture. Probably should have did this when I pulled the glow plugs. Running on limited battery juice here. All right, so I got this one mostly bled. That one bled. Couldn't do anything with this. It was too much to video all this, but I pulled the glow plugs and the valve cover back off. Well, let me rephrase that. I pulled the valve cover, then the glow plugs back out, bled these two since I can't get this one undone. And I've got fuel, so let's see if it starts. Let me crank this throttle back down because I don't need to take off. Let's see. Come on, baby. And there's no glow plugs either. So. We got it moved out of the crack over here. Kind of drove it around just a little bit. It's got a flat, but otherwise, coolant's getting up the temps, not overheating. No oil light. Gonna try to get this situated on there and get the back pan on. And maybe I can locate some bolts for the seat. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll put some air in the tire, try to cruise around a little bit. This is pretty awesome though. I like shit like this. All right, I think I finally got all the air worked out of the system. Ended up taking that junk off. I think it was kind of plugged up, which is not super surprising. And I should know better. That's just some crap that came up on the bottom. So definitely not good diesel to run through the system. So we're back to this, just the pump. Bled all the injectors again. Still gonna have to do something about all these broken return lines that daisy chain between each other. Oddly enough, nothing actually comes out of them that I can tell. If it is, it's very minimal. Not sure if that's normal or not. This one seems to idle a lot smoother than my 332, which makes me consider buying another set of injectors, and if they're secondhand, just bringing them somewhere and having them going through and then installing them on the 332, see if it runs better, and then maybe get those fixed up and have a spare set. But this seems to run super smooth, so kind of looking forward to throwing a deck on it. Unfortunately, this tire held air for however many years it was in the woods, and it's not now, which is awesome. This tire was flat when I walked up on it in the woods, and it holds air. So away she goes. So I might try a tube in there. I kind of like the big beefy front tires. My 332 has some small ones on the front, kind of narrow. I find that they kind of tear up the yard a little bit. So yeah, I guess I'll pop it off. Kind of got a little bit of a nailing sound. Still think the timing could be slightly advanced, but again, I'm comparing that to my 332, which obviously doesn't run as good as it could after seeing how this one runs. So I was thinking that maybe the hydraulic leak was coming from the little relief valves, but one of them is just kind of damp. The other one is fine. Probably doesn't work. So we got some ooey gooey going on right there, coming from this. If I have to replace that one, that'll be like the 5th one I've replaced overall between a bunch of machines I've had. So not too big a deal. About $70 with the weird fittings that's on it. So also not the funnest one to get to either. Probably worse off on a diesel model, considering that they're all closed up. So yeah, that's about it for this one for now. Now that I got it running good, I'll get a good pressure wash, and we'll clear out Mr. Rat's mansion in here, because he has filled this sucker up with every leaf and stick that he could get his little paws on. So I guess I'll pull the tank and clean that out and vacuum all those leaves out, try to get that bottom screen off without breaking the head off of every single screw. And then I think I'm gonna do a light sand on this second coat of paint that somebody threw on it and buff it, because 9 out of 10 the stuff actually buffs out pretty good. I'm not sure why somebody resorted to doing that, but like these guys over here, I mean, they're crusty, but you know, the hoods, I believe it's 317, the hood buffed out awesome. This one too, you know, this one had a little bit of fading going on when I got it on the hood. Buffed it, looks nice. So, you know, not saying that this one might not get a full resto, considering it's a 330, but it's still a work unit. So for now, it'd be cool to just kind of clean it up a little bit, and maybe finish off the mowing season with it. And then this winter, if other projects don't get ahead of this, you know, maybe get some of the stuff powder coated on it, the grill, the hood support, pull the tower apart, get that done, and then the side pans. These side pans are super straight. I had to do a lot of work on the ones on my 332 to get them to be halfway okay. Got the old crust bucket tank off. Got it drained into those guys. Of course, we're gonna properly dispose of that. And a bonfire. Anywho, so here we are. This crustacean station right here. I'm gonna break out the vacuum, get that cleaned up. I hope this pump's not fried. It's got a lot of squirrely sounds. Could just be because it's low on fluid. I do have for sure one extra, maybe two. If not, I'm sure I've got a tractor that probably won't make it back together and is more of a ports unit because it's got a questionable engine on it that I know nothing about, that's halfway ripped apart, and I can't spin it over, so it may not be good. I hate to do it, but I also need to make some room, so one of them may come apart and kind of be a donor for a couple other tractors to get them 100%, so I guess that's not a terrible thing. Not like I'm throwing it in the landfill. So yeah, on to the next step. We're back again on the old 330. I was hoping that maybe there could be something simple as far as this hydraulic leak, and maybe I could mow with it today. I'll throw a deck under it and see how it does. So I'm working on pulling this bottom pan. And so far, we are jammed up with some leak stoppers. I don't know if this is a squirrel or a rat. Could have been either or, but either way, there's a lot of something up there. So we're gonna keep taking all these little screws and washers off, and eventually this thing's gonna fall and make a giant mess in the shop. Most people would have just wheeled this like outside, but not me. Nah, I won't have anything to complain about if I do that. All right, we got the pan dropped. This thing is really caked up. I see some unions that don't really look familiar. So I don't know, maybe somebody's been doing some things and stuff on here and they busted a line and just tried to repair it. I mean, look at this. Hey, you can see some daylight. That's good. Keep waiting on a rat to jump out of here. I feel like with all the running it's done, in theory it should have made its way out by now, or at least I'd like to believe that. That's the messy side back here. Jesus Christo. Oh yeah, there we go. That's the sauce there. All right, we got lots of fluid on the filter. Could be a bad O-ring on the filter maybe. Probably wouldn't be something that simple. And the reason I say that is because it's still early enough in the day for me to run to Deere and get another filter, so I know that that's not going to be the problem. Man, I got a lot out. It's still a wreck up there. Almost looks like the filter's backed off a little. Well, I can see why I would run for about 15 minutes before I would see the leak. Look at that. It's like a rat mansion. They love that shit. Oh no. Oh no. Huh? Well, we had 4. We're down to 3. Oh no. Oh good, I got a couple extra. Shoot. Still didn't want that to happen. Yeah, alright, well. Check it from the other side. Plus there's fan over here. Much better. Thinking maybe I'll get the leaf blower. Take this outside. Not the tractor, of course. Again, we need to be able to make a mess in here. Bring this pan outside. Pretty clean. Pretty sure the leak's coming from somewhere back here, so I'll go ahead and start it and try to pinpoint this. So, it's a short little hose. Goes from this union, loops around, and goes up right here. I'm just not understanding where it's busted. It's not the fitting that's loose either. This thing needs a serious pressure washing. That would help out tremendously. I wish this was a Onan in here. It'd weigh a lot less, and I could just lift the front of this up with that. I don't think I can, unless I put something heavy on the forks. Maybe try to lift it up like that. It's a new line made. That's what I love about having a little mom and pop hydraulic line shop up the road. I can swing in there and they pretty much can make anything I show up with, and if not, they'll improvise. They'll make sure I leave there with what I need. So I just started it, no leaks, so that's awesome. I'm gonna top her off with some fluid, and I think I'm gonna slam my 48-inch deck from my 332 under it, and maybe throw a pan on her and at least one bolt to hold the seat on, and we're gonna mow the yard with her real quick. Heck yeah. Started weighing out my options. I was running out of daylight, so I was gonna pull the deck off the 332 in the mule drive and throw it on the 330, but I decided to just go ahead and mow with the 332 just because it was getting pretty long, and I don't know if I have time to do it tomorrow, and I don't believe I'll have time to do it this weekend. So anyways, so I got the grass mowed with the 332. I replaced the line on here. That solved that major leak, which would leak while it was idling, wide open, any kind of running, it was leaking. I did discover that the line that goes from the hydraulic valve to the lift cylinder for the deck and the 3-point also has a small leak, so I'm going to get that line replaced. Kind of everything on here is looking a little bit shoddy, like even these steering lines don't look super great, so I've got a hunch that I'll probably be replacing more lines. I'm going to replace everything that's easy to access, and I'll save the more difficult ones for when I pull the tower. I'd really like to get all this stuff powder coated, which is kind of conflicting to what I said earlier in the video, which was just buffing out and rolling with it, but I don't know. The more I thought about it last night, a little bit of money it costs to get all this stuff powder coated. It's not a terrible investment, kind of a one and done thing. The tractor's, everything that I have pretty much stays indoors unless it's being used, so it's not like they're going to sit out in the sun and get beat up where it might fade the powder coating. So yeah, I'm still kind of disappointed about this wheel being a problem. Just kind of puts a damper on being able to test drive it around and put it under a load and see how it does. So which is what I was really looking forward to doing by mowing the grass. And then of course this wheel is huge, or I say wheel. Wheel's a normal size. Tires much bigger than the majority of the 318s and other tractors that I have. My only other option would have been to grab one off of this 318 because they are pretty much the same size if I recall. So anyways, just turned into another project of pulling a wheel off of something and putting it on something else. It just didn't make much sense. So And I'm gonna keep tinkering with this, and if I have some time over the weekend, if I don't work my entire weekend away, I'm gonna try to get this set up to mow next week and see how it does. Trying to think what else do I need to address. I did find a fuel filter housing, a factory one, so I ordered that. What else? Not really a huge fan of this homemade 3-point. These bores just stick out. It's just insane. I don't know if somebody just made this or if it came from something else. These kind of look like the aftermarket, I don't know what you call that part, but looks very similar to the aftermarket ones that are offered on like eBay and stuff. So I don't know. I may get this where it's supposed to be and then weld it to the rock shaft where you're not relying on a couple bolts to hold tension to the rock shaft, and then maybe just cut these short or heat them, bend them, whatever bend I need to. I'd kind of like them to be about this long, the total length, and then I can just bend this out a little more and then kick it in here, and just get some new, whatever you call these ends they sell them at Tractor Supply, and just go up to category 1. These are, I believe, category 0, but everything I have is category 1. So what else? I did find my other hydraulic pump, so if I need to replace that for any reason, I'll be able to do that. Yep, that's pretty much it so far. So I did get, I don't think I had said this yet, considering that all the segments of this video are over the course of a couple days, but I did get this 318 and the one back here sold. I say get them sold. I wasn't actively listing them to sell them, but I had somebody that was interested in picking up both of them. So things have changed on the no-run row. So the 318 that was here is no longer here, because, like I mentioned earlier in the video, I had some guy that was interested in 318 that was here and this 318, but he was kind of slow to pull the trigger on it. And a friend of mine had said, hey, you know what? If he seems like maybe he's not super interested, then I'll just buy one of those 318s if we can get it going. And so we've been kind of chipping away at that for about a week now. So we were able to get it up and running. We just ordered a bunch of different parts to kind of get it freshened up for him. Fuel pump, which I broke a nipple on it, unfortunately. So we're waiting on a fuel pump so we can kind of continue on with what we were doing. Battery, new coil, condensers, spark plug wires. We replaced all the fuel lines. So what else? We got a new hydraulic filter, 5 gallons of hydraulic fluid, so we're going to do a flush on all that. New fuel filter. All 4 tires hold air, so that's great. And then I'm going to clean up a mule drive for him. And one of these 50-inch decks, I have 2 more out there on pallets, so we'll get one of those fixed up for him. And then that'll be out of here and not rotting away somewhere, as it's in the hands of someone that's going to use it and take care of it. So that's much better than where it was probably going anyways. So yeah, and then I got to jump back on the front end loader on the 318. So I made a bunch of temporary lines because I wanted to do hard lines for everything. I'd go out there and show you all this, but it's raining. So I made a bunch of full-length lines because I had pieced together a temporary line using a couple lines off of the blade and a couple spare lines that I used off of a parts tractor. And it seemed like I really couldn't pick up much weight with it. And I was kind of concerned about that. So I decided, let me just make a full set of lines. And then when I do my hard lines, I'll just cut those lines where I need to, and then crimp on the correct ends to thread onto the hard lines. So I did that, and I don't know, I'm kind of not super impressed with the front end loader, honestly. Like, it works well, and I can pick up things with it that I can't pick up myself. But I thought it was going to do a little bit more. It's definitely not picking up 400 pounds like everybody else says it does. But I've always kind of noticed that even on the 3-point side, like, it really doesn't have much oomph. So I don't know if the pump is just weak. So I thought about possibly getting a shim kit for that pump to help boost the pressure, but I'm thinking about maybe just making the subframe, which is that lower section that runs at an angle here and like this. I'm thinking about just sealing all that up and making a reservoir and getting a hydraulic pump and just running it off the PTO, and see if I can kind of up the pressure a little bit to help lift a little bit more. I know it's a small tractor, and you know, there's no need to lift 1,000 pounds with it, but I definitely don't see it picking up 400 pounds. And I still have some things to address. I threw just a makeshift set of forks on it because I really needed to use it for something. So it's not in a great state. It's not where I want it to be. It's functional and I can do things with it, but it's not really where I want it to be, which I kind of hate that, because it works just good enough to almost not mess with it. And I really don't like that, because then it makes me not finish things. So the best thing that I can do for myself is cut those forks off and just continue on with where I left off. So that'll be a whole separate video. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of wrap this up with, this does run great. I was able to drive it around and everything a good bit. I would start it up, but that's pretty obvious that it runs from the earlier portion of this video. But I also took the battery back off of this and put it on the 332 over there in the pile of messiness. So yeah, that's kind of where we are with that for a little bit. And I'm going to start trying to reorganize everything, since I had to drag it all in here in a rush due to the rain. And then the rest of the work we do on the 318, I'll have that in a video as well, and just kind of going over everything that we've done so far. I think that might be it for now. And then we may drag out this other 318 and try to figure out what's going on with it. I'm not sure what's up with that. The motor's pulled apart, and that's how it was when I got it. So that may be something else that gets messed with in the video with the 318 that was here that we're working on. So yeah, thanks for watching, and hopefully I can get some videos up sooner than these two that I'm about to post, with a roughly 6-month gap in posting. So yeah, sorry about that. Anywho, see y'all in the next one.